Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make pan-fried chicken wraps. I've been actually bringing this for lunches at work for the last few weeks. I lost track of how many times I've made this, and it comes out really well. One of the points of this recipe, aside from showing you how to make this, is it combines elements from several prior recipes to show you that, once you have a few recipes under your belt and you're learning how to cook, you can put things together and just make something. And so today I'm using the barbecue sauce from a prior recipe. I'm using the chicken from the Make-Ahead Chicken and Spaghetti, and I'm using the technique from the pan-fried burritos. So I'm going to be going a bit quicker than usual. One thing I am going to show you is how to use your own utensils as a measuring device. Because for this you will need and you can use any kind of tortillas you want. I've got some organic because I think they're great. I've defrosted some chicken breasts. I'm using a red and yellow pepper. Use whatever color you like. I've got a sweet onion because I happen to have a bag. Use regular. And for the rice, the 3 cups, I got a big thing of cooked rice that I keep in the fridge, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here I have 3 cups of water, and the point of this is I'm just going to pour this into the bowl here. And you will see that this bowl holds quite neatly 3 cups of water. And it's right there. So now that I know that, all I ever have to do is fill up this bowl to that line, and I know I've got 3 cups of rice. So, as you can see, close enough, 3 cups of cooked rice. Peel and chop the onion. Once that's chopped, start frying that up in the pan right away. Start a pan over medium heat, and I like olive oil for this. Use any type you want. You can sprinkle a little salt on it if you want to help get the water out. Not required. Seed the peppers and then chop them up. So cut the top off like that. Pull out the stem. And put your fingers in the pepper and pull. You should get nearly all the seeds. And the rest should just top out. Cut the peppers in quarters. And if there's any white material, you can just trim that out with a knife and discard that. Cut them in strips and then into smaller pieces. The peppers are all chopped up. I took a look at the pan and the onion is starting to soften up, so I'm going to add these right away. You can see it's doing pretty good there. You'll want these to cook some before you prepare the chicken, because you don't really want to be leaving defrosted chicken out on the counter for any longer than necessary. So fry these up together a few minutes until the peppers are softened. Then get your chicken ready. The peppers are nearly done. I've got the chicken out of the fridge, and as you can see, I'm using a glove. I always use gloves to handle raw chicken. So, holding it carefully, slice into it about halfway through but not completely. Open that up, and that will make kind of an oval heart shape. Let's put one on this side, get the other one. And if it doesn't open up quite easily, you can cut it a bit more. You are going to be chopping this up after, but I find it so much easier to handle in the pan in one piece than chopping it first, because then you get all these little bits that are overcooked. One point of food safety, I've got my freshly prepared barbecue sauce here. Now I'm going to take a generous dollop, but the important part is I'm going to drop it onto the chicken, because if you spread this out on raw chicken with your spatula and you don't think and you put it back in the recipe, you've contaminated this, and don't keep it. And if you don't want to use your spatula, just get a big spoon and drop that on. And then I'm going to get a spatula to transfer these to the pan. First, take the onions and peppers out. Instead of turning the heat right off, you can just turn it to low while you're doing the transfer. So get a bowl and use your tongs to squeeze it like that so it falls directly into the bowl instead of just trying to pour it out of the pan and you lose half of it on the stove. Add a bit more oil so the chicken has something to slide around on. You're going to be making a lot of wraps, so I wouldn't be too concerned about how much oil you're putting in this. And get a spatula and just slide that in. Slide the other one in. And you can just get a spoon to spread this out a bit. Move the chicken around a bit to make sure there's oil under it. If some of the sauce falls off in the pan, that will caramelize, that's fine. Turn it back up to medium and let that cook on one side. That's looking about half cooked. As you can see, it's white at the edges on one side and pink on the top. So just flip that over. And get some more sauce for the other side. Again, being careful to drop it on. That's looking cooked enough to chop up. Transfer that to a clean cutting board and chop it up using a clean knife. And in the meantime, put the pan back on the stove and add the peppers and the onions. Chop the chicken breast into small pieces. You can see it's cooked all the way through. Once that's all chopped up, return it to the pan. Turn the heat up briefly to fry that all together. After the chicken is completely coated with sauce and that's sizzling nicely, add your rice. You can use the tongs to break it up if it's in big clumps. Once all the rice clumps have broken up and are mixed in evenly, turn the heat off, take it off the heat and let it cool down before you start making the wraps. Pan's cooled off enough that I can put it on the counter. I do have a trivet just to be sure. I got packs of 12 here. I'm going to take one pack of tortillas out right away. And you can save yourself some grief if you just take a minute at the beginning to kind of separate them. Setup is the filling, a tortilla, and a cookie sheet to put them on. Now, depending what kind of implement you've got, I find these tongs work out just nicely. I haven't measured the exact amount, but it's a good scoop. And then fold that over. You can leave them all stacked here, it works fine. and pull in one side, pull in the other, tightly roll it up. Once you have that rolled, put it seam side down on the cookie sheet while you prepare the others. I'll just do one more to show you. Fold it over. Now what's important here is you pull this part in. If you just let it go out, you'll have corners sticking out, which is not going to ruin it. It just looks nicer if you do it like this. And you can see the corners. You can see the corners are still a little pointy. All the filling is gone, and it turns out it only made 14 today. Depending on the size of your onion and peppers and chicken breasts, it will make a minimum of 12, anywhere up to 18 usually. 14 works out for the cookie sheet. So now I'm going to clean the pan and fry them up in there. I have the wraps on the stove ready to go. Heat the pan on medium and put some oil in it and let that heat up. Even though it's non-stick, you do actually want to fry these in the oil. That should be enough for all of them. It's easier than having to heat up oil every time. Spread that around. Let that get hot. What is important is you cook this on medium, low. If you turn the heat up too high because you're in a rush, the wraps definitely will burn and have an odd flavor. Once the pan is hot, get your tongs. You can use your hands a bit to pick them up, but you put them in the pan with the tongs. Make sure that the seam side is down. My pan holds 7 comfortably, which is half of the batch. You may need to do more batches if you have a smaller pan. They're cooking for a bit. When they browned nicely on one side, just flip them over. You see that the seams have sealed, and there's no risk of them unwrapping now. Let them brown on the other side. I just checked one, they're done on the other side. Let's pick one up and show you. So just lay those seam down on the cookie sheet with the paper and then swap them out for the other batch. The second batch is cooking, but I thought I would show you now what they look like. And when they're fresh, you can hear how crunchy they are. These do heat well in the microwave, though they do come out a bit soft after. They're only crisp when they're fresh. One thing about these, feel free to experiment with the fillings. You don't have to use this exact combination. I have made these, for example, with Italian sausage and some mozzarella, and they came out very well. But that's my recipe for today. Pan-fried chicken wraps. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.